fans like Dirk because I think he's an everyman. He's our Charlie Chaplin in animation world. That was the original thought, to make him like a C student trying to make A's.
He's inept at everything he does. That's what I like about him, because that reflects a lot of stuff inside me. I feel inept. And so a lot of times I say, hey, there's my guy. And so he talks for me.
Don takes care of the character designs and he worked closely with John Pomeroy on all the character designs in Dragon's Lair.
Making a character, to me, I think it's really fun because you get to go to that dark place inside of you and find the Goonies that live inside. Dirk was fun because we didn't take him seriously, and he doesn't take himself seriously, so he's a great character, and you can just let it go and do anything you want. The other things, the Giddy Goons and all the nutsy characters, that's just the crazy part. And your pencil, let your pencil go, just do nutty things, and that's where I usually find him. John Pomeroy's mad as a hatter, so I don't know where he got his.
Dirk has big feet, and if you look at, it's almost a signature Don has in his designs, the big feet, big hands, long appendages. If you look at Daphne, for instance, her legs are a lot longer than most any woman out there.
Dirk has big feet because it makes him look goony. It's one of those formulas where you get the big hands, big feet, big nose, big everything. It makes a character look comedic. If you start drawing normal proportions, you move yourself towards the heroic characters who are to take seriously. But I don't want the fans to look at Dirk and say, hey, this guy's really cool and he's comparable. But he's not, so I think you have to make all the appendages and everything reflect what's going on inside his head.
It gives it a sense of comedy.
The names are really interesting. I love names because names have kind of a sound about them. Daphne was indeed a sound that I'd given to a cat that I own at home. But Dirk came from another place, came down from Rick Dyer's place, but I loved the sound of it because it's like an explosive sound. Dirk, and that's kind of an aggressive sound. And that's what Dirk is. I've lived with this for years.
The design of Daphne actually was an idea of Dawn's coming up with a Marilyn Monroe type. So her head and the hair is a Marilyn Monroe. The way she speaks is soft-spoken. But the body came from those photos in Playboy magazine.
I knew you were going to tell that. That was one of the secrets. Yeah, it did. It came from Playboy.
We pulled out the Playboys and Dawn started, trying to review these different, quote, sexy poses to incorporate with Daphne as she posed her way through the finale of that movie.
There's no other way. The problem is men don't know how to look or act like women, so how do you get in the pose? So I have to go to get reference, and it was the thing I had to do. Well, the Dirk-Daphne relationship in 1982, she basically was an airhead, but we didn't really mean that. So in the movie and also in the new 3D game, we've given her quite a brain, and she and Dirk do a lot of sparring mentally, and I think that's a great thing. She gives him a run for his money. It isn't quite as easy to rescue this damsel.
It isn't just cerebral either. She's pretty athletic, so we're going to see a real competition between the two. It's not going to be boy saves girl. When Rick came out to Phoenix to visit us at the studio, he introduced the idea of remaking or reviving Dragon's Lair. Even though it had been continuing to sell as DVD, he said, we can pull this together and make a brand new game by making it digital, doing a CGI version of it.
Yeah, but what I thought was interesting, he said, why should we be doing this? The other one's there. Why is it going to be better? And I think the better, where I got convinced, where he said, because you'll have control of Dirk. It'll be not only just 3D, which we're all used to doing in movies, he said, but you'll get to make that guy do the jumps, the rolls, the dives, the walks, everything. He said, that's different.
The fans are in control. It's not a continuity game or a memory game. You're in control, and there's a lot of gameplay. So we got really excited about it. We think the fans are going to really enjoy the fact that they can now control him rather than it just be a timing and continuity game. There was a lot of discussion in the past whether it was a real game or a movie that branched and they had that was the only control they had. Yeah. So this time I think the fans will get really excited about what they can do with Dirk the Daring.
You know what? And that is exactly the reason when Rick Dyer came to us and said, let's do another Dragon's Lair, only this time in 3D. That's the very reason I said, you know what? That makes sense because you would have control.
Yeah.
And if you do have control of the little character, that's different. and it's exciting, you know. And he says, and we can do it absolutely digital, so it'll knock your socks off visually. And I said, well, let's do it.
Dragon's Lair, we try to remain faithful to the integrity, the way it looked before, but it's been enhanced and beefed up. The way the characters move, the way they turn corners, the way they'll battle, all of this action has been heightened quite a bit with the technology that's available to us now. It wasn't available to us 20 years ago. Being faithful to the personalities was important because there's a whole generation of game players that remember the Dragon's Lair. But in today's marketplace, you have to be much more exciting, much more daring. So we want to get them involved in a virtual adventure. Take them through the maze, throw them in the pit, feel the fire. Everything is not just seen also, but felt. I mean, it's a all-encompassing battle that they get wrapped up into. Much more adventurous, much more involved than the original game of 20 years ago. So we're very grateful for the technology. We're very grateful for the people who have come to us, Rick with all of his technicians, and how they have plussed all of the action and made it incredibly, incredibly real.
As far as graphics, it kind of has broken some ground, don't you think? I mean...
Yeah, Dragon's Lair 3D is, this time it's real. That's for starters. But one thing that's different is that in 1983, you didn't have real control of Dirk. It was an illusion. In 2003, Dragon's Lair is absolutely real. This time you're there, you're sucked up into the environment, and you have direct control of Dirk and everything he does.
And the technology has allowed us to, you know, give the illusion that you're in a real world, so that as he's progressing through the maze or in each one of the chambers, you're seeing each brick go by the periphery vision, and turning the corners, going up the stairs, going down into the chambers, you know, through all the secret passageways. It gives you a more enhanced visual adventure that we just didn't have access to animation 20 years ago.
This time, you get to see the rest of the castle. The first time you went through the castle of Dragon's Lair, you only saw about 1/10 of the castle. This time you're seeing the other 9/10, the other 240 rooms that comprise the castle. You get to see the sewers underneath the castle and below the moat, and all the creatures and monsters, and it's just fun. Everything's after Dirk this time. Don, Gary, John, and myself, we were reluctant to do a 3D version of Dragon's Lair because we were so protective of Dirk and Daphne and the characters, and it really wasn't until this year that we could truly make the characters real and give you the control of Dirk and be able to make him do all the things that you've always dreamed of and wished you could. And we've got about 250 million fans who write us hundreds of letters every week with their suggestions over the years of things they would like to see. And we took that into consideration when we designed this game, was those fans out there who love the characters, who love this game. And I think that based on the feedback we're getting I think we hit a home run. In 1983, Dragon's Lair was the first Laserdisc coin-operated video game. This year, Dragon's Lair is going to make history again. It is the first high-definition TV video game ever to be created. And the resolution is unbelievable. It's 1,080 lines of resolution on your TV this way by 1,920 lines this way. That is the true resolution of 35mm motion picture film. That is a first. It is the first 5.1 6-channel Dolby surround sound to go with HD TV ever created.
You know, it's amazing with Dragon's Lair, even from its original inception, with the Laserdisc technology, later on application recently with CD-ROM. In each case, it's been a home run. They've been incredible winning technologies. Dragon's Lair has proven 2 and 3 times previously to be an amazing winner. This time, with the technology, it's going to go through the ceiling. We're very, very confident that Dragon's Lair will not only find its original audience that it had, but will generate a brand new, incredible following that will want more games in the future.
one thing about Dragon's Lair that is unusual is that your average video game has a life of about 6 months. Dragon's Lair has never stopped selling, and it's heading toward its 20th year in sales. And to date, the game has generated approximately $137 million in revenue. That's pretty phenomenal for a video game. With the Dragon's Lair gameplay, there are so many things that are new. There are over 40 adversarial, nasty creatures that are really fun to deal with. There are over 250 rooms. The castle, just to get through to finally rescue Daphne and destroy the 2 dragons, will take approximately 40 hours of gameplay to get there. The Dragon's Lair player is everybody, and that's very unusual for this industry. Generally, the industry targets the hardcore gamer, but Dragon's Lair, because of the rich animation and the characters, it applies to the very young, it applies to the hardcore gamer, and the 35 and older love Dragon's Lair as well.
Dragon's Lair 3D took us about 4 years to complete, and the reason for that is because gameplay is very important. The excitement of the story is very important, but the care in the visuals became, very important as well. Making sure that the environment was absolutely real. Making sure that the action and the personalities were very engaging to the player. So we want to take them not just on an action adventure, but, on a ride that they will never forget.
Dragon's Lair 3D, which we're calling Return to the Lair, was in 1983. Dragon's Lair broke records in terms of the most expensive video game ever created in history. It cost almost 10 times what a normal video game cost to develop by 1983 standards. And to put that into perspective, on the new Dragon's Lair 3D, Return to the Lair, the cost is 5 times what the original one cost in 1983. And I think that we had an attitude of we're not going to release the game until it's right. And to illustrate that, video games are developed as quickly as 18 months. Dragon's Lair is now going into its 5th year of development.
Dragon's Lair 3 is pretty much a tribute to you and your crew as far as perfection. It couldn't be any less but perfect. Each time the team would review any amount of footage or any particular scene, each nuance had to be perfectly rendered. The action had to be perfectly timed to make this, perfect gameplay.
Yeah, I think to add to that, Dragon's Lair 3D, Don and John and Gary, they animated this with feature film quality animation. We had to rise to that standard on the Dragon's Lair 3D because the fans don't care. They're not interested in excuses. It's either up to that quality or it's not. And if it's not, it's unacceptable to them. And really, until this year, it was not possible technologically to have done it. And I think if you talk to the fans, they'll tell you we did it. We're pretty pleased.
Dragon's Lair is in production as a movie right now. What we're doing is what we call pre-production, and we're getting the sets worked out. We're getting all the little shticks that he does worked out, and working on the relationship between him and Daphne, which is really, really different. Yeah, we're in pre-production right now on that, and we've got a script after about a year working on that, but we're trying to get all the pictures and all the visions and the sets worked out right now, so we'll tell you more about it later.
The Dragon's Lair movie will actually be a prequel to the game, and a prequel to even the original game in 1983. You'll get to know Dirk, you'll know why he became a knight, what he really wants.
And why he can't talk.
Yeah.
Dirk and Daphne, I'm never sure of why Dirk really, really goes for Daphne, except for the real physical part of her. But in the movie version of this, what we're trying to do is say she's got a real brain and a personality, and they get into a lot of competition. So I think we answer those questions. Even in this new 3D game, we answer it a little more because Daphne taunts him, and there's a cerebral thing going on. I love the action figures, and I think the reason I do is because I put them on my mantle or in the shelves at home, and every time I glance at them, it gives me a little memory of a moment of joy that I've had creating them.
I think what's interesting is with Chris Dern, he would send us through the internet, he would send us photos of the sculpts. So we were constantly in touch with him and improving them along the way.
Yeah.
What's nice about the whole situation this time is we're talking about a home game. So not only do you have your gaming at home, but you have these three-dimensional figures right there with you.
For those of you playing Dragon's Lair 3D, you'll find out that you are in control. You will be making your own 3D interactive feature-length animated film. You are the director, you are the producer. So as you are going through the maze, fighting off the demons, fighting off the critters and the monsters, you are making your own film tailor-made for you. So enjoy.